Hey there, welcome back to the table. So I've had like very large pauses between my playthroughs here. Holidays. I have a son that's in college now, and he comes home for only a few weeks, and I really try to maximize that time with him. And that means I am gaming, but it's multiplayer gaming, and it's with him. And I don't necessarily record those, as you guys know. Um, and I really made the most of the time. So my apologies. I know some of you who've been watching this Frosthaven playthrough haven't been getting videos as quickly as I normally do, but it just is what it is, and I am very eager to play this game. Trust me, Gloomhaven is one of my favorite games. Um, it's at least in the top 10 of all time. I don't know how I would rank my top 10, and I don't want to spend an hour talking about that, but I want to talk about another game that I did extremely enjoy, and my son Josh and I played a full start to finish campaign playthrough of ISS Vanguard. So we did this. As you know, I have a playthrough of this on my channel, and I made it up to what I would call the midway point, where the Vanguard is under attack, and I meant to get the planet book, and I ended up getting the rule book, so I apologize there. So this isn't going to be as helpful. I can maybe pause the video and go grab it, but we only went so far, and then I ended the campaign. I just stopped. And as you may recall, when the ISS Vanguard was attacked, I lost it miserably, and I lost half my crew. Like 50% of my crew died. And it just sort of deflated me, and I didn't want to play anymore. So then my son comes home, and I said to him, hey, look, I got this game. I spent more money on this game than I have on any other game in my life. It's called ISS Vanguard. And that's all true, by the way. And I said to him, I said, look, I did a playthrough. It plays well solo. But to be quite honest, I think it would be more enjoyable if I had somebody else to play it with. And my answer to that is resoundingly yes. I think games like this, and including Frosthaven, I think a lot of these epic games are more fun with other people. In my channel, I play games by myself, and you see that all the time. But I'm always the first to tell you that I enjoy player versus player, or even if it's a co-op game, I still enjoy being with other people more. And in case, for people who aren't familiar with me or my channel, I think those of you who have watched my channel for a long time, you've already figured out this little secret. But part of the reason why I record is because I'm not by myself anymore. Like, by talking to the camera, I'm still talking to another person, all of you. And so for me, a fundamental aspect to playing a board game is I want to be with other people. I know some people like the tactile feel of the cardboard. For me, it's playing with other people. And I know every one of us out there in the world have different tolerances for what you constitute as a happy, fun time versus not. And for me, I can play a game by myself, and in fact, I enjoy playing a game by myself more when I hit record. So that's part of the reason why I do this channel. It's not because I'm trying to be professional or trying to make a lot of money. I've never asked you for a like or subscribe. I mean, you guys, in some ways, are the conduit that allows me to enjoy these games by myself. So thank you for that. So getting back to this game. We played the full campaign. I warned him that there was a spot in the game that got ugly for me, but I did not tell him what happened, so he wasn't aware the ISS Vanguard was going to be under attack. But the moment that we were under attack, he was like, this is it, Dad, isn't it? He figured it out. So I'm going to talk about some highlights and basically wrap up this game, ISS Vanguard. Now, at the time of this recording, I only have Wave 1. I do not have Wave 2. So let's go over some things real quick. One of the things I think that I get feedback on the most is people really appreciate me talking about the components. So here's the first thing. The dice tower is still crap. And yes, I know a few of you told me that you need glue and that I'm irrational and other explicatives for saying that it's crap. Let me just say something just straight up. I do not need glue for flimsy cardboard. Um, and the fact that you would suggest that I need glue for flimsy cardboard, because that's what that dice tower is, that's absolutely ludicrous. You know what I put glue on? I have I have a grandfather clock that I handcrafted. It's right over there in the corner. I handcrafted that myself. I use glue on that, which is made of real oak, and I think some pieces of cherry. I have to go back and think about it, but definitely oak. That's way different than cardboard. And yes, I use glue and some screws and all kinds of stuff to put that together. Okay? I know what it means to put something together, and I don't need people to lecture me on glue. But this was cardboard. This it was the flimsiest. Like this here, this is cardboard, right? I mean, it's fairly durable, right? I could probably bend this. I don't want to. I could probably bend it if I put enough muscle behind it. It's firm, but this is the material that the dice tower was made out of. And it, as far as I'm concerned, does not, should not require glue to put together. It had tabs, and the instructions said to insert tabs, and it should have held together on tabs alone. And I understand that glue would have maybe solved the problem and made it a little bit sturdy, but it was crap. And I'm just gonna just stick with that, my guns there. It's crap. End of story. The next one is the upgraded dice. We never used the upgraded dice. They were crap. Although I think the people who argue for the dice have a point, and that is they are crap depending on your lighting conditions. And I actually think that that is valid. I think that in the right lighting conditions, the upgraded dice do look good. But we really struggled with understanding the green versus the other colors. It was just too much because they're shading the colors. So if you're going to buy this game, you don't need the dice tower. You don't need the dice. And this one's a more controversial one, and it's very subjective, but you don't need the miniatures. The miniatures in this game, in many cases, are used for one single planet landing, which is one single hour out of the 30 to 40 hours we spent playing this game. So if those miniatures are worth that for you, then buy them. If you like the tactile feel of miniatures on their board, then buy them. And I think I made the comment in the beginning that the miniatures, you're really in the camp where you're going to buy them, or you're in the camp where you're not going to. I tend to be in the camp where I buy miniatures. So I wasted my money. I'll answer it that way. Am I glad I have the miniatures? Yeah, I am. They look nice. They're really nice miniatures. But in terms of like, were they needed at all? No. And in fact, I'll even tell you a story. The final mission of the game, we were supposed to get out a couple miniatures, in fact, because there's several threats in that final mission. And I didn't even bother. We took a penny and, we just actually used a purple cube because we were very eager to end the game. My son needed to leave for college literally that day that we were playing the final mission, and we were really strapped on time, and the miniatures just added so little to the experience that we were totally okay with let's just proxy something. So I would say all the add-ons, if you're one of those people that are wondering, did I miss something? You missed nothing. The last one is the personnel files. Again, not needed. Although they add flavor, and arguably they add some little benefit. Excuse me. Some benefit to the gameplay. Although the benefit they add is when you have a basic die, it adds an extra possible outcome that you can use a basic die for. So I have a basic die for a wrench. Now that I'm a veteran, which is what the personnel files lets me do, it lets me also, in addition to a wrench, I could also be a computer monitor or whatever, or a science. I cannot think of one time in the game that helped us. It was nice to have, don't get me wrong. But here's what I will say about the personnel files. While we were doing missions, going after these individual goals, which are a little selfish, sort of like Frosthaven here, that you see in the background. There's selfish goals every time you go into a mission. It added that selfish goal element to landing on planets, and I frankly enjoyed that because it was more than just clearing the planet. It was, hey, I got this personal goal, and and I'm negotiating with Josh. Hey, I'll help your character do this one if you on the next landing will help me do this one. And so we were doing a lot of that, and sometimes even scheming on how we can clear the planet and help that person get their goal at the same time. So the personnel files, I will not say stinks. You don't need it. So if you're one of those people that's wondering, did I miss out? You're not missing out, but I do think it adds to the game. And from a gameplay perspective, it just gives you more things to do. Because let me talk about Vanguard in general. So my overall feeling about Vanguard is I hated this war of mine, and therefore I was very leery about buying another game from these people. This war of mine is not as good as everybody says, and just stating that makes some people defensive and angry, and I don't understand why, but it is what it is. The issues I had with this war of mine are the same issues I have with this game. Some of them. This war of mine I did not care for because it said that this war was going on for a year and you've been holed up in this house for a year. Not just a few weeks, a year. And then somehow or another, coffee addiction is going to cause you to commit suicide. I mean, come on, you can get over coffee. Like, I'm personally addicted. When I wake up in the morning, I need my coffee. I'll be the first to tell you that. But I guarantee you I can crack my coffee habit in 2 days. I just need to drink half of what I usually drink initially, and then half of that. I mean, if I want to safely do it and without any pain whatsoever, maybe a week is all it takes to get off of a coffee addiction. Coffee addiction is not hard to get off of. I'm sorry, folks. But anyways, I'm not here to review this war of mine, but there's parallels. The whole addiction thing being ridiculous and not even thematic, even though people claim it's thematic, and then they're like, well, what do you know? You're in America. You don't know what it's like. Come on, dude. Don't tell me that you know what it's like, as you're writing from your Taj Mahal palace, wherever you're from. I'm not playing that game with people. I am smart enough to know what it is not thematic. And coffee addiction after a year is not thematic, especially to the point that you're going to go commit suicide because you can't find coffee. So I had real problems with the game. But that's neither here nor there, because there is no coffee addictions in this game. So the parallels between this and this war of mine that I did not like is the rules are everywhere. This here, what's this book called? It's called the rule book. Yet not all the rules are contained in here. There are rules in the ship book. And if you go through my series and look at the comments of people commenting on my video, almost every one of them is telling me, hey, if you look at page 25 of your, because I think it is page 25. Yep, there it is. If you look at page 25 of leaving the planet, it tells you blah 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 blah, and you know what? That's great. But why is that not in the rule book? So my gripe with ISS Vanguard is that the rules are everywhere, and you have to remember where they are. And that was the same issue I had with this war of mine. Thankfully, in both this and this war of mine, once you get the hang of the rules, it's not so bad, and you don't have to remember where the rules were. But the learning curve is larger than it needs to be, because they place their rules everywhere. Sometimes the rules are even in the app, and they're not even on the rule book, and it's a bit of a nightmare. So, starting off with that negative, and to me it's a objective negative. It's not a subjective one. That's an objective negative, is that the rules are not in the rule book. They're everywhere. And what is subjective is how much does that affect your desire to like the game. Let me just tell you, I love this game. So I want to get that out of the way if I haven't said it. I really enjoyed this playthrough. And my son also did. In fact, we binged this game. Like, he was home for 3 weeks. So we completed a whole campaign of this in... I'm sorry, he was home for 4 weeks. We completed a whole campaign of this in 1 month. I think we played around 40 hours. And we had days where we woke up and literally ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner while we were playing. And we binged the snot out of this game. It was fun. And that was even with this being my second playthrough, because I had played it with you guys here on this channel. So I'm starting off with some negatives, because every game has negatives. Almost all of them do. That is a big negative for this one. The other one, you're going to see in my playthrough that the app will start giving you instructions, like do this, do this, do this. And there's this one planet where there's a dust storm. And everybody's pointing out that I never put the dust storm on the board. Well, I think actually one of the times was because I rolled a 9 or a 10, and I think the dust storm only comes out if you roll a 4 or less, but that's neither here nor there. The point they're making is that I landed on that planet several times, and the dust storm was supposed to be there. The dust storm and some of the other things, what would happen is that the app would be like this. So the app has this text on it, which is easy to follow, right? And then there's this big button down below that says proceed. But what I don't notice is that over here on the right is a scroll bar. So if I put my finger here and scroll up, this text goes away and there's more text below it. Like there's more to read. And so what was happening is I would read this and I'd hit proceed, expecting it to show me the rest of the instructions. But what I did was I completely skipped everything that I was supposed... Like, all that scrolling up text got removed. And that happened to me multiple times in my playthrough, and you saw it on this playthrough. With Josh helping me, he actually caught me, again, in the exact same spot, the dust storm. And there's another one on the Idemium planet where I can't even remember the name of the threat, but there's a threat there that I missed too. And I was even asking, boy, there's these really weird symbols. I don't know what these symbols mean. Well, like one of the viewers commented, well, if you would have placed the threat like you were supposed to, it would have told you. So again, rules being somewhere, right? The rules are actually on the threat card. But that part I can accept, because a lot of games do stuff like that. The other part of it, though, is I needed to scroll up, and basically I hit the proceed button without checking all the other text. So how to fix it? To me, it's an easy fix. Either show all the text or have a next button. So whatever text you can squeeze into that window, squeeze it, hit a next button, and then next until you've gone through all the text, and then proceed when you're fully complete. Instead of having this little thing that you're supposed to catch the little scroll bar on the right. Now, my son caught the scroll bar on the right every time, and it was me who suffered. And some of you viewers, the way you comment, you would have caught it every time too. And I don't know. I mean, I whatever cookies or awards you can give yourself for catching that, please do. For me, it was something that I easily missed. And I do have some other viewers that did at least give me some validation that it's not just me who missed those. So it is, on one hand, it's a nitpicky item, but on the other, you miss game-changing portions of the game. And like, I'm playing a scenario where there's supposed to be this dust storm going around, and I'm completely, oblivious to it. I didn't even know there was a dust storm. So there were things like that upset me. But as far as the negatives go, the third one is it got boring. Once you get to the phase of the game that we got through in this playthrough, where you can start colonizing planets or conquering them, and then we unlock the expert dice. Josh and I had 15 dice. We basically bought every die in the game. There was not a single dice left. there was nothing else left to do. We had rank 1, rank 2, rank 3 crew members. We didn't even have extra sleeves. We had production lines with nothing to produce. We had research with nothing to research. We were literally going into planets trying to find unique discoveries and getting out as quickly as we could. Like, it got boring. So, take that for what it's worth. We still finished it. And let me be very clear. We loved the game. We binged it. And Josh told me that he can't wait until Wave 2 comes. So, there's actually a feature to save your game. So when Wave 2 does come, you can take advantage of it. Alright, so I want to wrap this up because I actually want to play some Frosthaven here. And that's, of course, going to be a different video. But some of the positives of Vanguard, plus some spoilers. So I know I probably spoiled a little bit already, but I'm really going to spoil the snot out of it now. First of all, Josh and I made it to the battle where the Vanguard was attacked. And we actually repelled the attackers completely. Like, we won everything. We did not die. We did not fail. We got all the irrigator landers were bounced back. We took every aspect of the ship back. The only thing that was different in terms of outcome is we didn't lose half our crew. We still had opportunities to lose our crew, and in fact we lost 3 crew members. So that still happened, and it still goes to the warp drive. And you get to that warp drive, and these tentacle creatures come out of nowhere, right? Because they're interdimensional beings, and then they, they kick some butt, right? So the outcome was more or less the same. Now, there was, did the captain die? Like, at the end of the game, there's this big, long checklist. Did so-and-so die? Did so-and... And there's these check boxes, right? And at the very end of the game, a lot of things seem like they're going to be different based on who's still alive and who's not. And it seems like there's replayability potential there. I don't know if I'm willing to replay it just for the small nuances of the captain died here, but he didn't die there. That seems like a lot of replaying just for that one small outcome. But it's there. And I want to make sure that you guys knew that it's there. So in our case, the captain allegedly died, but he still talks to us, and I don't understand that part. Like, his voice acting was still there. So we did that. Eventually, you go to the irrigator homeworld, which we never did. We skipped it. There was a mission to go there, but then that mission went away because we had the mission to go to the irrigator homeworld, but at the same time, we also had a mission to go into the interdimensional world. So we went interdimensional first, and then we were going to go do the irrigator behemoth one later. And after we completed the dimensional one, the irrigator one never happened. So we don't know what happens when you go to the irrigator homeworld. If we had more time, I guess we could have done that, but we didn't. There's a spot in the game where when you're researching steelies, there's these different symbols, and then you can drag your finger, and basically it's like a pyramid of stuff, and you can drag your finger down, and you could research back up. It's like a research tree. And by the way, the debate still rages on. Is it steely or is it steel? Even the game actors don't get it consistent. But that research ultimately triggers the end game. And the way the game works, the campaign works, is you have like the initial Eye of the Void. Then you have to get, you have to discover so many steels from the first set of planets, the green planets we call them. Then there's these yellow planets, you have to discover them. And then lastly, there's red planets at the end, and you have to go to just one of those red planets. There's I think there was 3 to choose from. We went to one of them, we discovered the steel, and we had the option to research something different, and that would have maybe extended the game, but we went for what was called the top secret, final conclusion, right? And so we ended up learning that the steels, I'm spoiling this here, are just a small physical element of a larger electromagnetic connection. So all the steels across the galaxy are actually interconnected through these invisible electromagnetic style waves. And that's the reason why the communication goes around everywhere. Um, so that's one of the secrets that you discover. And so when you discover that, you end up finding a third secret message from the builders. Remember, the first one was in your DNA. The second one was when we went to the Eye of the Void. And then now you get a third one. And the third one basically brings us back to the Eye of the Void. But before I continue that, I wanted to talk about some other notable missions. The interdimensional mission was one that caused my son and I to literally get angry at each other and not want to talk to each other the rest of the night. And it was largely because the mission was a puzzle. And it was a frustrating puzzle, and our characters were going to die. Because everything we kept doing was resetting, and we were repeating ourselves over and over again. There's also another spot where you're diving in the water, and you're trying to get this fish to go somewhere. And we kept misunderstanding what we needed. Like, we were trying to attack the fish ourselves. Because the game told us that, something that you need to attack this fish. But really what you need to do is you need to convince this fish to go out of a tunnel, and then a bigger fish will come by and eat him, which then satisfies the bigger fish so you could swim by it and get to your objective. Like, that's literally in this game. Like, you're in this you're investigating a planet, and you're deep down under the water looking for a steel, and you got this fish that's actually afraid of you. He's a really large fish, but he's a friendly little fish. And you're trying to get him to run away from you through this catacomb. So you got to make him go left, make him go right. And then if you get him to a dead end, then he inks you like a squid. And then, you basically have to start over, right? Well, as you know, when you play the game, you're burning through dice. If you run out of supplies, then what? Then you're going to start exhausting dice. So the point is that you're going to lose the game. So that one was extremely frustrating for us, and eventually we did figure out that we had to push the fish out the other side so the larger fish will eat him. We kept thinking we needed to attack the fish so we could feed the larger. Like, we had the right idea, but just the wrong execution. So this game sometimes needs you to think exactly like it would, and that can be very frustrating. The interdimensional world was exactly that way. Like, there's this thing where you're causing, you're floating because there's no such thing as gravity and all this other, psychedelic stuff, and you're spinning the wheel, and you're turning the wheel on its edge, and you're trying to get out. Like, you're basically in this infinite loop in this other dimension, and you're trying to crawl your way out. And the way they do it is with point of interest cards that keep resetting and rotating. And it's literally a puzzle. You have to recognize a pattern, and then you have to take advantage of that pattern. And yes, then eventually your way out will appear, and then boom, you can move on to the rest of the mission, which is not over. Just getting out is the first challenge. Then you got more challenges after that. It made us fight with each other because we both had different ideas of how to solve it. And in full transparency, my son was more correct than I was in how to solve it. We were both wrong in my defense, but he was more right. So, but we did. We both together figured it out. But I hated that mission. Like to me, that wasn't fun. It was like, how good is your IQ kind of thing. So anyways, we got through that. Then, getting back to the spoiler, so we find out that the Eye of the Void had this binary sun, and on that sun was a vault. And now that we understood the mystery of the steels, we could find that we were able to identify the vault and see it. Like, you couldn't see it before. So using our there's one more thing. In the interdimensional mission, one of your crew members has to allow these tentacle beings that live there to touch you. Like, you basically go to like their mainframe area, and you're finally starting to communicate with them, and then one of them wants to touch you, and you have to decide who is going to allow, basically this mainframe system to touch them. And again, I'm spoiling this, but whoever you allow dies. Well, they don't die, but they're no longer a crew member for you. And basically what happens is they become transformed. And it's almost like the Borg, if you've watched Star Trek. There's a hive mind, and like there's a mother thing going on, and that crew member speaks about humans as if they are, like speaks about humans as if the crew member himself is not human anymore, and and basically the whole crew doesn't trust them, and they make a lot of statements where they're talking about mother, and mother wouldn't approve, and all this other stuff. And so anyways, the crew member gets permanently eliminated. So don't have your level 3 crew member on that mission. Which thankfully we didn't. I actually saw it coming. I knew it was coming, so I sent my level 1 on that mission. But that was part of the reason why Josh and I were angry with each other, because my level 1 was running out of dice, whereas his level 3 was not. But we let my level 1 touch it. And so its name becomes Thrall. So whatever the name was, it becomes Thrall, because it, this crew member still lives on your ship, but it's like it's no longer human anymore. So anyways, now we fast forward to this Eye of the Void. There's this vault thing, and the interdimensional beings give us technology that we now have the ability to manipulate dimensional travel. And so we figure out that we can land on this sun, even though it is extremely hot, and even though it's high gravity, we can use interdimensional technology to be able to go there. And that's what the builders had, is they had that type of technology. So you go there, and that is, the final mission is a 2-part mission, meaning that you got 1 page of stuff you have to go through, and then once you clear that, you descend, if you will, to the next area, and then they let you reset all of your dice, and so if you were worried about running out of dice or whatever, it's a very kind game. It lets you reset everything, and then now you got another set of puzzles and challenges you got to get through. And once you get through that, which we solved pretty easily, there was one spot where you had to figure out like a pattern and rebuild a puzzler. It was like a lock mechanism, and you had to look on the game board and see that the previous 2 spots had those same pieces but in different orders, and that the order was rotating like this. And so when you're trying to guess the 3rd one, you were just basically completing the pattern. But at first you're like, what the heck, I have no idea what piece goes where. But once you see the pattern on the board, then it was like, aha, it was real easy. But it could get you, right, if you're not paying attention. So anyways, long story short, we solved it, we get to the end, and we find a builder who's still alive. But he was staying alive just to hand us our prize. And then he died not long after. So he gives us our prize, which is this technology that they had, and then explained that all of the civilizations that the Steels were on were created by them, including us. So they seeded DNA. They didn't necessarily, they're not like our gods or our creators, but they seeded DNA, which caused different life forms to form. And the part where it was a quote race is it was a race to discover this vault and to get this technology. So because we won the race, we were given this technology, and then we were also given a warning that there's this substance that's eating the galaxy, like dark matter, if you will, and it completely destroyed their galaxy. And so they came here to seed life in our galaxy, and they put this race in place because whichever one of us survives and becomes smart enough and techy enough or whatever, they're giving us all their technology, and they gave us even a sample of this dark matter, and it's up to us to solve or figure out how to stop the dark matter, because the dark matter is eventually going to come to our galaxy and destroy us. So that was the ominous part about this. So they gave us a responsibility, and their race was wiped out. There was nothing they could do, but by seeding life on all these planets and creating this race for us, they were giving us the opportunity to pick up the baton and carry on the research that they have already started. And so the only thing that they asked of us is that we needed to be like the caretakers of all the other seeded races, and we weren't allowed to share our technology with them because that would lead to war. Well, okay, so we then leave the vault, and one part that I give a nod to, it was a good application of space and time, is when you go into something as high gravity as the sun, by the time you come out, time will have changed. So what was an hour for you may have been 10 years for somebody else, for example. And that's sort of what happened here. So by the time you come out and you come back to the Vanguard and you dock, the Vanguard is empty, and it's like barely acknowledging that you arrived. And everybody's actually shocked, and you find out that you're on the memorial wall. They thought that your whole away team was dead. So in our case, we chose to create embassies with all the planets. Well, the crew members that wanted us to go conquer the other planets had a mutiny, and so they rebelled and imprisoned the captain. They imprisoned us as well when we landed. And so the Vanguard was run by people who were trying to oppress and dominate all other species. And by the time we arrived, it was like getting to a crescendo where there was almost a rebellion from these other species because they were, intolerant of the yoke that was being placed upon them by the humans. So the whole gist of this story is you go through this next sequence, which is not a planet. It's almost like when the Vanguard was being invaded. You go through another sequence of trying to save the Vanguard. You're rescuing other people, and then you even get an opportunity where you basically Thrall is being inhumanely researched in the science lab. And like in our case, we wanted to capture their leader, the rebellion leader, and try to end the war that way. And Thrall, the tentacled creature, human person, was going through serious pain, and so we liberated him, and he asked us if it was okay to let him, get his revenge on the captain. We said yes, and he created this interdimensional portal that was like basically looked like hell, and sucked the captain and the science leader, who was arguably innocent, although the science leader was conducting the experiments, into this portal. So we lost our science officer. Don't confuse that with the science the player who's playing as the science officer. We're talking about the science officer on the Vanguard, not the sectional leader is what I meant to say, and this captain who rebelled against us. Both of them are sucked off into oblivion. And then there was this like funny joke where the Thrall was like, yeah, now I'm gonna use my new knowledge on you, and then he starts laughing. He. I'm still human. I still have a sense of humor. Like, it was a really, I don't know. We laughed. We thought it was funny, but we were a little taken aback that Thrall like killed them. And then I think that did impact our final score. I don't know. There's things that you do at the end that do impact your score. So we got our score. I think we had at least 26 to 30 victory points just from success tokens. They give you success tokens for a whole variety of things. And then you get to the spot where you can then play crew members to get your score higher. And you had to get like more than 24 points, I think, was the number. We had more than 24 points just in success tokens. We didn't even have to spend a single crew member. So we easily blew it out of the water. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, basically, we now have this newfound technology. We have this new threat that's coming, and we save the galaxy from oppression. That's the end. Okay, couple of things. Had we started to conquer the planets instead of colonizing an embassy, that clearly would have had a different outcome. I don't know what that outcome was. We didn't cheat. We didn't look. The other thing is like we killed the science officer. We killed the rebellion leader. There were other things that could have happened. So we changed the outcome there. We had a lot of points. You get more points because like there's 9 planets you can colonize, and if you colonize all 9 of them, you would have scored more points. We only colonized 5 of them. There were unique discoveries that when you fill up the row, you get to unlock something for your bridge. You actually saw all the unique discoveries rows that were unlocked in the playthrough here. Josh and I did not finish any more rows. We came close, but we skipped a lot of planets. That's the thing I guess I just wanted to talk about. There were 3 red planets we could have visited. We only went to 1. Arrogator Homeworld was another one, and I can't remember what the third one was, but there was 3 we could have visited. We went to Eden, whatever it's called. It's called Eden something. We went to 1 of them, and that was all it took to win the game. So there were 2 we skipped. There were there were at least 3 or 4 yellow planets we didn't visit as well. One of them being the Lone Wolf one, which I believe was a Kickstarter unlocked special mission. We didn't do that one either. And like I said, we were bored. Once you unlock everything in this game, it gets boring quick. Because the mechanics of landing on the planet and rolling dice to solve things, it's very Elder Signs. Like, yeah, okay, I'm playing Elder Signs. I'm going to roll, and then, I'm going to get this symbol, and this symbol, and match them up, and then boom, I get to take an Elder Sign or move the threat back or whatever. Elder Sign's fun. ISS Vanguard's fun. But Elder Sign is a game that ends within 45 minutes to an hour, and you're satisfied. This is 40 hours. And it got boring. So if I had more content, if I had more stuff to unlock, I would have been fine. It was the moment that there was more content, but I had nothing more to unlock. I had nothing more to play for. We just wanted to finish it. So anyways, that was our take on it. Was it worth the price I paid? This is the most expensive game in my collection. Company of Heroes being close second. It's hard to say. Is it worth it? It's a dang good game. Worth it is going to be up to you. Because, don't get me wrong, and I don't mean to sound snobby, but I get on Facebook gaming forums, and somebody says that they paid $105 for a game, and there's always one of you out there, what? You paid over $100 for a game? I would never pay that much for a game. Where have you been? Where have you been? I mean, yes, there's games that cost less than $100. I'm not disagreeing with that. But in my world, I have... Okay, Frosthaven is $150 right there. Stars of Icarios was $115, $120. Gloomhaven was $105. I mean, it is not uncommon to pay $200 for a Kickstarter these days. Do you need to spend $200? No, you don't. But it's not uncommon though. And even if you're not spending $200, you're at least spending $100. Euthia. That latest Kickstarter was what, $400? Now, granted, some of these are epic campaigns. They're bloated with all kinds of materials. I mean, even Dungeon Crusade, that was over $100. I mean, I bet I have more games now that are over $100 than I have that are under. And I'm probably wrong when I say that. If I sat down and really thought about it, I probably have more that are under. But the trend is to say that $100 is too much for a game is ridiculous. Now, maybe it's too much for your budget, and that's an accurate statement. But in terms of like how pricing for games are, globally, I mean, the poor people who live in Australia, and I don't know if I have any viewers from Australia, but if I do, I mean, I just want to tip my hat to you because some of you pay $60 to $80 just to ship your game, let alone the cost of the game. So, anyways, I'm sorry I went off on that little rant, but is ISS Vanguard worth it? Well, it depends on what you think is a reasonable price for a game. I think if you take away all the extras, it's still a $200+ game. Just case in point. Would I pay $200 for this game? Yes, I would. I played it for 40 hours. Even at $600, which is what this game would have cost if you went all in. It was like $593 or something like that. If you're an American, and went all in, because I know shipping is different for everybody. So if you went all in and paid $600 and you got 40 hours out of it, I mean, use the classic movie theater analogy. You go to a movie theater, you spend 2.5 hours there, you've spent $60 for, a family of three. Was that worth it, right? You're basically spending, $20 a person per hour. Well, okay, now I'm up to 400 or 40 hours. Does that make it worth it? So 40 times 20, that's $800. Just to use the same math. If you're saying $20 per hour, right? 40 hours, 4 times 2 is 8. There's 2 zeros. There's $800. This game, using the movie theater method, it should be worth $800 to you. So if you go to enough movies at the movie theater, you will have spent, for the same amount of hours it takes to play this game, you will have spent more at the movie theater than you would on this game. And that's if you went all in. If you don't go all in, then you save another $200, and you're fine. So I don't want to tell people what is worth it to them or what is not. I mean, search your soul and your budget. I mean, only you know what you can or can't afford. But ISS Vanguard was a very good game. The shipbook phase is one of the key things we loved about it. The planet landing and the dice was okay. I frankly think it could use some serious improvement. The viewers were commenting that I don't use my cards enough. To be quite honest, the cards are like a silly component to the game. But when you get to the end of the game, you unlock those expert dice. Like, it'll have 2 symbols on one side. One, let's say it's a wrench and a computer monitor. When you're trying to roll that die, those symbols might only be on 2 spots. There's like 2 symbols here, and there's 2 different symbols there. I mean, it's like, when you first get the game, a basic die has a basic symbol on 4 of the 6 sides, right? So, and then on the 5th of the 6th side is a wild symbol. So you basically have a really good shot at rolling, what you're looking for. Or even a wrench die has a wrench on 3 of the 6 sides, and then the wild's on the 4th of the 6th side. The point being is that it's a real good shot when you roll that I'm going to get a wrench. Well, with the expert dice, that's not the case. If you roll it, you're going to get a whole wild random outcome. So that's where the cards really started. So late game is when the card play really started to mean something. Because you have these cards that say, discard 2 dice from your roll pool to the spent pool, and those 2 dice could have been accident dice, which makes it even better. All you have to do is just take any 2 dice, move it to the spent pool, and then you can take a 3rd die and set it to whatever side you'd like. Or set it to the side that has the outline around it, which means it's like the wrench side. That's perfect. And so you have to roll 2 extra dice, but you can then guarantee that I'm going to get, for my expert die, the 2 symbols I'm looking for. So that's where the expert dice require you to be an expert. Like, you need to have the right cards in your hand to make those expert dice roll for you exactly how you want. Otherwise, expert dice were actually much more tricky. But beyond that, it's like I said, we got bored. The thrill of landing on a planet and discovering the different things, it got a little weird. I mean, it's like binging Star Trek. Um, the Star Trek episodes, it doesn't matter if it's new, next generation or original or whatever. The thing that makes them interesting is that Gene Roddenberry always came up with they paralleled human issues. So if we are a world that's filled with patriarchy, Star Trek people would land on a world where it's a matriarchy. I mean, that's a classic Amazon woman situation. Um, or Captain Kirk would be kissing some alien, and so they would use the fact that you look different than me to address issues of racism, right? That's the thing about Star Trek that made it interesting and cool, is it wasn't just, hey, I'm landing on a new planet and I'm going to discover a new alien thing. It was, they encountered a situation that mirrored what we deal with every day in our lives. But they used the alien situation to talk about it. It's almost like, when Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood used puppets to talk about, what happens when your mom or your dad passes away. I mean, it's like that kind of concept, right? So why is it that you enjoy watching Star Trek, or you would binge a season of Star Trek? The fascination of the warp drives and the cloaking technology and how a planet looks here or how a planet looks there, it does sort of suck you in, and some people like the sci-fi theme, but really it all boils down to, it's good writing. And not only is it good writing, but it's addressing serious topics that are in our world today, but it's doing it in a non-threatening way. And that's what makes Star Trek great. So ISS Vanguard was about, hey, we need to solve what's this eye of the void, and why do we have this in our DNA? Like, it had that going for it. But the landing on the planets and learning about flora and like this one has, there's these little cockroaches that live in the planet and then they come out and eat you. It only goes so far, and then eventually you grow tired of it. That's the thing, is the common theme is we always eventually grew tired of it. We weren't solving our main mission. We weren't solving the eye of the void. Like, why is this in our DNA? We're just experiencing some weird flora doing weird things. Who cares, And we weren't addressing some issue that affects us in our current world. That's where sci-fi falls flat for me sometimes. And so this game has a lot of planets we didn't visit, and we don't miss them at all, is all I'm trying to say. Like, my son did curiously say, I wonder what those other missions had. Well, they had some unique discoveries, and we would have been able to finish a row here, or we would have been able to finish that row there. Who cares? That was sort of our thought. I think if we had more time, we would have finished it. But to be honest, my son was the bigger culprit here than me. He was more interested in playing League of Legends and, opening up his computer Steam account and playing some computer game. Like, his desire to sit down and play ISS Vanguard was dwindling. And towards the end, it was very difficult to finish this campaign. But we did finish it. And I know I spent a lot of time poo-pooing specific aspects of this game. And I largely do it because I know most other viewers won't. YouTubers. They're going to do nothing but kiss the butts of the people who make this game. Because they want their free copy. And I know I just overgeneralized there, but that you get what I mean. I wanted to focus on the nuance. This game has nuance. Like, even the things I don't like about this game has a nuance where I still like it. So I can't stress that enough. We loved this game, even though I just listed a whole litany of negatives. But by my listening to negatives, hopefully that helps you to decide whether you would love the game, because what we felt about this game isn't going to necessarily be what other people feel about it. So, anyways, I just rambled for a whole hour about this game with nothing but a rule book as my prop. So, my apologies there. It was fun. We're looking forward to Wave 2. And we'll see. Whenever that's going to arrive, I don't even know when that's going to arrive. But now I'm anxious to get into some Frosthaven. So I'm going to close this out. If any of you have any questions, please let me know. I could try to do a follow-up video with real components if necessary. I know our app has, like, we saved all of our crew members and what rank they were. Like, you had to save that. So that's all saved. Beyond that, there's not much else to add. I just, if you're satisfied with just exploring the planets and you're a completionist, this game allows you to do that. My best recommendation is when you go to that Steely chart and you're dragging and dropping your technology, don't grab the top secret one. As long as you don't do that, you'll never trigger the end game. And then it allows you to go visit as many planets as you'd like to whatever level of satisfaction you want. So you could complete everything. And it does. It has log entries. Like if we would have colonized or set up embassies on all 9 planets, there was a log entry we were supposed to go to. And yes, I did cheat and go read what it said. I can tell you that it's completely inconsequential. That the thing about completing all 9 planets is you score more points at the end of the game. Whenever it's calculating a victory score, you'll get more points towards your victory if you did. So if you do a completionist thing and you complete everything, you'll get more points. There's a part of me that thinks like there's that one scenario, I think it's called Lone Guard or Wolf Guard or whatever, that was unlocked as part of the Kickstarter campaign. There might have been something on that planet that was especially interesting because they added that extra. That's not just a part of the base game. And we didn't go there because we just didn't have time. But if I were to pick a place that I wanted to go to, that would have been one of them. And then the Arrogator homeworld would have been the other. I think the Arrogators are just angry mech beings that are just misunderstood. But yeah. Anyways, thank you for watching. I apologize I did not finish the campaign for you to see. In fact, my son and I started over. So I had to go 15 plus hours in before we even got to the spot where our campaign that you were watching, where we were equal to that. And that was right around Christmas Day, by the way, that we got there. So then between Christmas Day and a couple days ago when my son left, we finally finished the campaign. So anyways, thanks for watching. As always, stay awesome. ISS Vanguard is a great game. Is it a keeper? I think so. I don't own anything that's even remotely like this. This War of Mine is the closest, and it's only because of the style. And as you know, I got rid of my copy a long time ago. I think as far as campaign games go, epic campaigns, this was really good. Now, I've been told to try some of these other ones like ISS Vanguard or, gosh, the name's eluding me, but there's one that came out recently, and there's even a new wave coming. Oathsworn, that's the one. There's a lot of big epic campaign games out there. I try to buy as many as I can, but I think those of you who are money conscious can appreciate they're expensive. They're very big investments to get into, and I sort of went all in on this one. And in full confession, I do make some money on this YouTube channel, so therefore it counts as a business, and I will be able to write this off on my taxes. So the difference between me and you is I did pay a lot for this game, but I'm going to get some of it back. Not all of it, because that's not the way taxes work, but I will get to write some of this off. And so that's another benefit to having a YouTube channel. But yeah, don't take tax advice from me. I'm just telling you it's a reality. And, I'm rambling again. So I'm going to stop. Thanks for watching. As always, I will see you in the Frosthaven at the table.